Hello, everybody. Here we are, another solo stream or Friday stream. We're going a little more free form here on Fridays. Um, wow, I'm realizing right now I don't even have my whole mic set up and everything. So thank you, everybody, for tolerating that. I actually might be able to upgrade it right here. Man, I can't believe I completely overlooked that. Today, I want to be talking about a little something that's interesting to me, at least, and I do think it's going to be very important for Denver Broncos fans. It's a conversation we haven't had in a long time as Broncos fans. A little bit with Drew Lock, I guess. But that's really it since Jay Cutler was drafted. And even then, you didn't get to see the conversation, you know, reach its conclusion because he was traded early. You could argue the same thing with Drew Lock, and that is, how do you pay these guys? And Bo Nix hasn't even played it down yet. I'm not going to argue like I did for Russ Wilson. He's not worth his contract, yada, yada. That's so far down the road. We're not there yet. But it is going to be interesting. How do you pay these guys? Because that's not only a conversation with the Broncos, but with two of their division rivals. The Chiefs and the Chargers have two of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. How are they going about that? Because that actually has a very, very big impact on the Broncos and will continue to for the next 10, 15 years or so. That's kind of the thesis statement of this. But let's get started by, kind of the Trevor Lawrence of it all. Trevor Lawrence, for those that missed the news, just signed arguably the biggest contract in NFL history. It ties Joe Burrow's, but it has more guarantees. So you could argue this is the biggest. $55 million a year, excuse me. Lots of it guaranteed. It's massive. It's going to be a solo show. Here, I got to make sure I am quote tweeting this broadcast out really quick. Oh, what a nightmare. All right. I'll do that in a second. Okay. The financial stuff. Let's get into this. So as everyone likely knows, I'm going to assume everyone listening to this is aware, the rookie contract for quarterbacks is the best financial advantage there is in the NFL. So many people are chasing that. Really, everyone's chasing it if they don't have an elite quarterback. That's what the Vikings just did, moving off Kirk Cousins, who was a solid quarterback for them, to go to J.J. McCarthy. They want to take advantage of that rookie contract window. And it's easy to see why, right? Trevor Lawrence, I just said it, he's making $55 million a year. Over the next 4 years, the Denver Broncos are paying Bo Nix $18 million total. End of statement, total. Trevor Lawrence over the next 5, $275 million. Even if the Broncos pick up Nix's fifth-year option, like let's assume it goes great, they pick it up, you're looking at 40, and that's rounding up, 40 over 5 years, so you're averaging 8 compared to 55. So that's that rookie window that everyone thinks is so valuable. Because what if, Bo Nix is a good quarterback early in his career? Let's just live in this reality. Let's say he's top 25% of the league, top 8-ish. I think a lot of people would probably put Trevor Lawrence around that range, right? He would be creating almost $50 million in surplus value, right? Because you're getting comparable levels of quarterback play, but the team with Bo Nix has $50 million more annually to invest in the supporting cast, the surrounding talent on the roster, which of course is huge. Sorry, I got comments. Let me make sure the audio is okay. Dark horse breakout candidate. I actually have a list for this. Here, let me finish this setup. I'll run through some news and notes, whatever. Please, again, comment if the audio is rough. I want to try and figure that out for y'all. I'm on the road. I'm taking care of my pup. My folks are out of town, and my dog recently got injured. So having to keep a close eye on her. And I did not think about my mic setup. So again, apologies, everybody, on that front. Hope this audio. Okay, sweet. Thank you, Michael. Glad to hear the audio is good. Okay. So you're having that $50 million gap, right, in terms of what you're investing into the quarterback position every year. What's up, Cody? It makes it a lot easier to invest just in the supporting cast, make the roster a lot more talented. Don't make it a massive talent gap. Yes, maybe you have the gap in terms of quarterbacking or whatever, but, or in this case, I guess the hypothetical, the quarterbacking is equal. You have a lot more talented roster. The salary cap's like $300-ish million. So if you have 50 million more to spend on your supporting cast, right? It'll say Jags are spending, 250 on the cast around Trevor. Broncos are spending like we'll say 245 on the cast around Trevor. Broncos are spending 295 on the cast around Bo Nix. Like 20% more resources financially. Obviously, you don't get more picks, but 20% more financial capital to load up that roster with talent. So when you hear that rookie contract window discussed, that's what's being discussed. I imagine a lot of you know that, though. I'm laying that out because I think there is a second, nearly as valuable advantage that no one is talking about. I haven't seen anyone talking about this. I listened to a lot of national NFL coverage, and I've started to see hints of it, but I really haven't seen anyone dissect it. And I think this is going to be, we've seen how impactful the rookie quarterback thing has been. I think this is going to be similarly impactful. And it's not going to happen yet. I think it's going to happen after we see the Goffs and the Tuas of the world sign their deals upcoming. Daniel Jones was a very interesting precursor to this. And that's this. These quarterbacks are going to be very, very expensive nowadays. Right. Even Jared Goff signed for 53 million a year on average. They're crazy expensive. So it's very valuable to be able to restructure these deals. And you'll see that right here. Time for me to get my professor lecturer on here. I'm gonna do some pointing out here. I don't know if you can see my mic or not. I don't know if you can see my mouse or not, but we'll go through that. And again, sorry for the roughness with this. Obviously, it's always a little tricky with the solo nature of the show. Okay. As you'll see here, so Joe Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Jared Goff, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. Okay. Some elite quarterbacks. I know opinions are divided on Trevor Lawrence and Justin Herbert, but I think nationally, right, we look at Hurts, Jackson, Herbert, Lawrence, Burrow. Goff's kind of that outlier there. I think most people would rank those guys as top 10 quarterbacks. Most everyone. I think most people might even have those guys outside of Jalen Hurts in the top 8. And when Hurts signed that deal, I would say most everyone would have had him in the top 8. Not surprising, right? Best quarterbacks are the highest paid. That's not weird. Notice, though, we're looking at the full contract, and that was something I brought up a lot in terms of Trevor Lawrence. He's making $55 million a year on average. He's not making 55 every year in the sense, yes, that's the average income. That's not what he's getting on the cap. What they're handing to him really doesn't matter as far as team building goes. It does. We'll get into that in a second. Right now, all that matters is the cap space they're eating up. And the cap space they're eating up is almost never even. It's almost never evenly spread out. But almost always, and again, there's exceptions to this rule, but 90+% of the time, it escalates as the deal goes on. It's a couple reasons, right? Limit your how much you're on the hook for him now. Maybe get a couple cheap years out of him. Then you can let him go before the deal's over, and those prices really go up. Also, right, salary cap is going up year over year, so it kind of makes sense for the contracts to follow that, right? So they're eating up a similar percentage of your cap every year, right? So let's look at what these guys are making in 2024. This is where it gets interesting. Excuse me, the website's going to have to load on us here. Okay. Notice the names are entirely different. It's Deshaun Watson, Dak Prescott, Matt Stafford, Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones at the top. And then we get to the Mahomes, Jackson, Allen, Burrow, right? So there's another very clean line there, right? We were looking at the full contract splits. And there was that group of, 7, 8 I was highlighting. Man, these ads are a lot. But there was that group of, let's just go back to this layout quick. There's that group of 7 or 8 I was highlighting. And then we look here, Man, I shouldn't have done that. That was so stupid. Sorry, everybody. We go here, and you'll see there's another very hard line where, there's 5 guys ahead of where Patrick Mahomes starts. Then Patrick Mahomes starts. You got a bushel of elite quarterbacks right there. Dak Prescott, and Matt Stafford are the only outliers kind of in that top group, right? Deshaun Watson, he's been a really rough quarterback. Kyler Murray, actually, I would say is an outlier too. And then Daniel Jones, he's been really rough. Those guys are at the top here, top of the pay scale, because they can't be restructured. Excuse me, haven't had a water in a second. So restructuring. What that is I'm taking your contract, I'm turning what was labeled as salary, and I'm turning it into a signing bonus, which is guaranteed. And that gets spread over the lifetime of the deal. We have a comment right here from Michael about it, right? 200 million guaranteed is nuts, man. Sometimes these signing bonuses are $100 million. Okay. Russell Wilson just had the biggest cap hit of anyone in NFL history at 56. Right. So prohibitive to try and have an $100 million cap hit on your books in a single season. You can't be done. So the NFL and the NFLPA allow those signing bonuses to be spread over the lifetime of the deal. Right. So that's what restructuring is. I'm taking the salary that you're going to get this season. I'm turning it into a signing bonus. And now, rather than it all hitting my books this year, it'll be spread out over however many years of that deal is left. Okay. So Dak Prescott, he's in the last year of his deal and the Cowboys are putzing around for whatever reason. He can't be restructured. That's why he's up there. Deshaun Watson has been horrific. And they're already very, very much so on the hook with him. They don't really want to restructure that number anymore because they know what's coming down the pike, which is a really painful year. They don't want to restructure him because, again, you're guaranteeing them this money. This money is now 1,000% coming off your books, and you are lengthening the amount of time that it's coming off your books for. Okay, so you're giving them more money. You're giving them money for longer, and you're guaranteeing those facts. All right, so you're making yourself way more committed to these quarterbacks. All right, so that's why you're not seeing it with Deshaun Watson. Matt Stafford, kind of at the end of his career. That's why you're not seeing it there. Kyler Murray has some questions in terms of like where's his ceiling at. Also, the ACL tear, right? His extension wasn't looking great right after he signed it. That's why they don't want to restructure that. They want to wait it out and see a little more. That's why the Broncos didn't want to restructure with Russ. Daniel Jones don't want to restructure. And then we get to what's Patrick Mahomes' cap number. Remember, his average is like 45. What's it this year? 37. Joe Burrow, he was right at the top of the last list, right? 55-ish. I think it's right at 55. It is. 29.5. Right? So the gap in what they're making on average and what is actually coming off the Cincinnati Bengals books in 2024, the Chiefs books in 2024, is like $30 million less. And that's huge. What that is the product of is it's the product of these teams restructuring and just kicking the money that they are supposed to pay these quarterbacks down the road. Now, don't worry, anybody, these quarterbacks are getting their money. It's just when it is officially on the ledger, the money is immediately changing hands. It's a great deal for the players. They get their money up front. Who doesn't like their cash up front? But yeah, it's a tricky situation here. One second. Sorry, I was seeing some comments come in. Okay, so they are, and I'm sorry for the math. I see the comment here, Cody. I know this is in the weeds a bit, but I'm telling y'all. So the reason that gap is like $20 million, or in Burrow's case, it was 25, is because of how they have just perpetuated. Okay, if it's 25 less now than what the average is over the life of the deal, there's got to be a year in there where he's making 25 above that average, right? Where it's obvious and it's going to be spread out over the lifetime, but that would be a cap hit of terrible at math all of a sudden, 80 million, which is again, insane money. spread out over the life of the deal. Mahomes, right? We see him right here. He's got this 37 million number. This will be a perfect demonstration of what I'm talking about here. Okay. Look at his cap numbers from year over year. Okay, where is it? Here. 37 this year. Next year, 66. Year after that, 68. Year after that, 64. Okay? So, why does this matter? These teams, and also, they aren't going to pay Mahomes 68 million or whatever that number was next year. It's going to come around again, and they're going to restructure, and they're just going to perpetually restructure. That's what all these teams are doing. That's why the teams with the elite quarterbacks are all below these quarterbacks with big questions around them. Because every year, if you have a Patrick Mahomes, why not commit to him long term? What is the risk of committing to Patrick Mahomes long term? Yes, there is a chance he does something horrific off the field or suffers a horrific injury, but it's very far. It's so such a small likelihood that bet turns south on you, right? So why not do it? It's very easy to be like, I can easily imagine why I don't want to commit to Daniel Jones long term with tens of millions of dollars. Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, they don't have those problems. So you can do this every single year, right? And so let's say they keep doing this with Mahomes and they just push it, and we get to 2028 or so, 2029, and it's finally time 2030. Their bills come due, don't want to push it off anymore. So what, right? We're talking about this number at 65 million and Goff's making 53 on average. So what's the problem if I have to pay Patrick Mahomes like 70 1 year? Okay, that's what the restructuring is. It's all these teams it's like what we saw Sean Payton do in New Orleans. It's just like pushing the credit card bill off. Except in this world, the bill is never coming. There is an interest. It doesn't get more expensive with time. It gets cheaper with time because the salary cap is exploding in this era of sports gambling, skyrocketing up. It doesn't matter. And these teams have figured it out. It matters so little that COVID, right, reduced the salary cap. First year in forever, the salary cap didn't increase. Really didn't hurt these teams all that much. They were fine. I'll also say, I think there's very real problems with doing this over, the entire roster. Like, look at the Saints. I think their roster's horribly unhealthy right now. I think it's very hard to imagine them being like competitive over the next half decade at all, unless they just hit like 1 million grand slams in the draft. It's just, there's flaws with it. You can overdo this strategy. It's not the magic cure-all. But the result of this, again, the cost is, okay, well, 1 year Patrick Mahomes is maybe going to be really expensive, or maybe a couple, 3 years. But then the upshot is you are getting $30 million a year every single year to surround Patrick Mahomes with talent. That is such a big advantage. And yes, all the other top quarterbacks are doing this. That means all the other top quarterbacks are on a level playing field. Who are the ones that aren't getting this advantage? Daniel Jones, right? Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson. Those are the guys that aren't getting the $30 million every year to upgrade their supporting cast. You know who could use $30 million annually to upgrade their supporting cast? Daniel Jones. Like, think about how ridiculous this is for a second. Would you rather have Patrick Mahomes and $30 million or Daniel Jones? It's insane. It's insane. Or I guess Joe Burrow's the 30 million number, right? Would you rather have Joe Burrow and you're getting Joe Burrow and a big pile of $30 million or Daniel Jones? Like, that is the most lopsided trade ever. What does this mean? The mid-level quarterback market is not coming. It's not going to happen. It's never going to be a financial advantage. I talked about it briefly with Joey when Nix was drafted. And this isn't necessarily what I believe about Nix. I think Joey did an awesome job poking holes in the idea that Bo Nix is a low ceiling quarterback. And what does it even mean? Like, how do we even define a quarterback ceiling? I don't want to steal Joey's beat, but I think he's done a really good job outlining that. So I'm not even commenting about Bo Nix, but I think you have to be burying your heads in the sand if you haven't heard any mention that Bo Nix might not have the highest ceiling. Whether or not you agree with that, whatever. I really don't care. Just, it is a conversation that's out there. I think we can agree. One counter to that conversation was, well, okay, if he ends up, not being an elite quarterback, that's fine. You can pay him one of these mid-level salaries, and then you'll have more money to spend on your roster. Yeah, Patrick Mahomes is maybe the best quarterback we've ever seen. You're probably not going to out quarterback him, but maybe you can have a better supporting cast than him. And that's the way to beating him. And I think that's true. I think that idea is still true. You just aren't getting that financial advantage with a mid-level quarterback. You're getting a financial disadvantage because you're not going to want to sign up for Jared Goff being your starter for the next 5 years, or 5 years from now at $80 million. That's going to scare ownerships. You don't want to do that. But you have to, if you want to keep pace with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Joe Burrow. Because if not, again, what's that trade-off? It's, you are going into battle with Daniel Jones, and your opponent has Patrick Mahomes and $30 million. Like, you are so wildly outgunned, it's not even funny. So I don't think that mid-level market's coming. I don't think it's coming with Tua. Tua, with his injury history and everything, they are not going to want to restructure that deal way on into the future. And so, yeah, it's cap number and cash spent are on there. But the 200 mil, I can find that might have been life of the deal when that was up. There's some people making 200 mil guaranteed, I believe. Trevor Lawrence is 200 mil, I think, overall in guarantees. But anyway, sorry, I responded to some comments. I really don't think that mid-level market is coming. Oh my God, these ads. Because why would you sign up for that? Why are you signing up for 5 years of, I want the worst quarterback and the worst roster? Or at the very least, less assets for my roster. I want it to be harder to build my team, and I want the worst quarterback. Who is signing up for that for 4 or 5 years? Like, look at these quarterback contracts. They're a sizable commitment. We're experiencing that with Russell Wilson. They're a commitment. Who's going to want to do that? It's not doable. If you don't have a rookie, like if you have a rookie, okay, like as long as Bo Nix is on this deal, which again, over the next 4 years, he's making 18.6. I'll round up to 19. We'll say he's making 4.75 annually. I mean, not a problem, right? If he's a game manager level, you're still getting a $30 million gap on Mahomes. All right. Would you rather have a game manager quarterback and $30 million or Patrick Mahomes? I think Mahomes is the right answer, but at least you can make a case for the other one, right? It's not Mahomes and 30 million versus Bo Nix. And that's the problem. The ceiling of these guys matter. They have to, like, truly, they have to be elite, I think, to re-sign them. And, your definition of elite can change. I think a lot of people watching this are not going to define Trevor Lawrence as an elite quarterback. I'd say that's the range you have to get to, or the Dak Prescott-y level, that 8th, 9th, because then, okay, then it's negligible to an extent with Mahomes, and it's always going to be hard, just always going to be difficult. But I don't think you can sign up for that awful trade I've laid out 4 times a year, because you've also got Justin Herbert and Jim Harbaugh now. I don't think 4 times a year you want to be going up against an elite quarterback with a better roster than you. Obviously, you don't want that. You definitely don't want to cement yourself into that position. So that's what I wanted to talk about. The most valuable quarterback in the league, or like the most financially advantageous quarterback to have in the league is a quarterback on a rookie deal. The second most, and it's by a wide margin here, the second most is a quarterback on a restructurable deal. All these deals are technically restructurable. That's not like a rule against it, but you're, like we just laid out, you're not restructuring Daniel Jones. You're not going to pay tens of millions of dollars to commit to some of these guys long term. So that's kind of the T.Y. element of it and the Bo Nix element of it. I think I've been geeking out about this for a couple of weeks now, and I've had to get it off my chest. I've had to vent it because no one's talking about this, and I really think 2, 3, 4 years from now, it's going to be a big deal. Because again, like the rookie contract window became a big thing when the gap there was not even $30 million. It was like 20, right? That's what the gap is on the restructured guys now. It's like in that same range. The gap on the rookie guys now is like 50, 60 million. And also 20 million today is less than 20 million in 2016, 2017 or whatever. Again, cap is exploding. Those numbers become a smaller percentage of the cap, but it's still very, very big. Now, I will say, the one problem with restructuring, I mentioned earlier, you give the players the money up front, which is true. You have to have that amount of liquid cash. So, like Mahomes, the Hunt ownership group is notoriously cheap. Okay. They have been kind of restructuring every other year, which I think is very smart. It's limiting how bad things get long term because you're taking some of your medicine as you go. You're not, creating some sort of doomsday year off in the future, which again doesn't really come because you can extend these guys. If it's a guy you want to sign to a contract extension, like a Mahomes, right? This isn't going to be the final deal of his career. Lamar Jackson, Justin Herbert. You can sign sorry, Kathy. that was a funny comment. God, I totally lost my train of thought now. I am so sorry, everybody. But yeah, it's you gotta pay elite money for elite quarterbacks because then you can knock it down to nothing money. Again, you can just, that's where I was at. With these extensions, you can just keep pushing it off, keep pushing it off, keep pushing it off. And you are paying it as you go. You're paying these escalated salaries, but these escalated salaries aren't a big deal because the cap keeps exploding. And I will say, just Kathy, and this is maybe here, I'll get off the cap of it all. I know this is really nerdy stuff and probably only all that interesting to me. I do find it fascinating, and I had to talk about it somewhere. But I want to say the rookie thing, I think, is what we know, right? And I agree. We get it. I think the different thing is on this restructured point. If your quarterback is, I won't even say elite, but a guy that you're not questioning as your starting quarterback, that's maybe a good way to put it. A guy that you're not questioning about being your starting quarterback for the next 3-4 years. You're happy with it. No qualms. That is massive because then you can perpetuate that rookie quarterback advantage. You're getting it forever. That's not happening for Tua. That's not happening for Goff. That's not happening for Kirk. That's not happening for all these mid-level guys, which is interesting. But yes, Kathy, let's get into some of these other questions. I talked about some breakout players in the description. I also want to hit that. So let's go here. Who is your dark horse breakout candidate on offense and defense? I had some that, oh my God, it's on my phone, I think. It's that, or it's on my computer at home, which would be really funny. No, here it's on my phone. I have my draft board here still. So there's some people that didn't even come up in our discussion. Like Jaleel McLaughlin wasn't picked. He was one of the top 4 guys on my board. I was like, I really want to come out of here with 2 of PJ Locke, Nick Bonitto, Marvin Mims, and Jaleel McLaughlin. I think those 4 guys are in a tier of their own. I don't think any of them are dark horses, but I think those 4 are in a tier of their own. I really wanted to come away with 2 of them, and I was right there on Bonitto versus McLaughlin. If I hadn't just done my Nick Bonitto research that day and had some stats I was excited to share, maybe I end up going McLaughlin because it's neck and neck with those two. Sleepers, though. Lucas Kroll didn't come up at all. He's had some really nice practices so far at minicamp, and he checks the boxes in terms of physical ability, the opportunities going to be there for him to break out. For Love either. Oh, no, they're going to be restructuring Love. I think they think very highly of Love, and I think they should. Maybe it comes back to bite him. Again, we've seen very little of Love. So, again, he could totally regress, be the guy he was the first half of last year, and then you aren't restructuring it. Then it looks real ugly. But if the second half of last year holds, he's going to be one of those ones they're restructuring forever, and just getting a perpetual financial advantage. But my sleepers, Lucas Kroll, really intriguing athlete, can do everything you want physically in terms of receiving ability. He's a big body. He can run after the catch. He can run away from guys on his routes. As a blocker, I don't think he wows you, but again, he has all the physical ability. I think he has the want to. I don't think his technique's all that great, but I think that's something you can kind of live with. I don't think Adam Troutman's a road grader by any means. And yeah, just the opportunities there. I mean, maybe Greg Dulcich is fully healthy and he's really real competition, but until we see it, I struggle to count Greg Dulcich as real competition. I think the real competition is Adam Troutman. And Troutman, you know what he is? He's a replacement level player. I think Kroll is going to get some. Oh, my bad, Mike. I had it reversed. Apologies to Carmelini. But with the tight ends, I think he's got a great chance to. Adam Troutman's exciting no one. No one wants Adam Troutman to win that job, right? They want the best player out there. So if he's the best player, he'll win the job. There's no long-term incentive for Adam Troutman winning that job. I think the Broncos would rather Greg Dulcich win that job or Lucas Kroll, because these are young, cheap guys who might be part of this team's long-term future. And that really can't be said for Adam Troutman. So Lucas Kroll's 1 on O. Yes, that'll be my pick on offense. I'm going to be lame, and I'm going to actually do a second one. Josh Reynolds. No one's talking about this. I think he'll at least break out in terms of Broncos country. I think Broncos country is viewing this guy very, has a very low opinion of this guy. I would not be surprised if he's their most productive receiver this year. I do think Courtland Sutton is better, but I don't think his skill set is as good of a match with Bo Nix as Josh Reynolds. I think Josh Reynolds is an idyllic fit with Nix. And then Marvin Mims, I think, is a great chance to be the most productive receiver. But as I've been talking about with Joey, there's a lot of projection involved there. There's a chance he doesn't take that big leap. And in that world, I think it's very realistic Reynolds could be the most productive pass catcher on this team. And I think that would certainly constitute a breakout season. So he was a sleeper for me. A defense. Okay. A lot of these guys we talked about, I don't know how many of them are sleepers. Jonas Griffith, I don't think came up. Oh, I've got my breakout player article I got to drop. Goodness. I'm going to drop that once we're out of here. It's a good one, folks. I write about Jonas Griffith in that. It's driving me crazy how we all forgot about Jonas Griffith. And granted, the last time we saw him, it wasn't good. He lost the job, and it was injury, but there's a reason why he didn't come back as well. He kind of lost. Well, also, there's a reason why when he came back, Singleton was entrenched as the starter. But he started that season ahead of Singleton on the depth chart. And Singleton, I think, just caught fire for one season. It's a guy that's a special teamer his whole career in Philly, a guy that the fan base reviles for how frequently he's picked on by the other team, by how frequently he's missing tackles. I am in the kitchen alone. God, I keep losing my train of thought. I got to stop reading the comments, people. I'm sorry. This is why I need Joey and Bree here to keep me on task. But Jonas Griffith, I think he was good the last time we saw him. Like very recently, he was better. He was a better player than Alex Singleton. That's what I'm trying to get at here, very long-windedly. And then last year we saw Singleton regress to the mean, or regress to his norm, rather. So if it's the same old Singleton, I think he's not going to steal the starting job from him. I think it could be Griffith and Singleton out there. I don't think it's crazy that Griffith could be one of the starting two linebackers, one of the better two linebackers on this team. Cody Barton was a real problem last year for the Commanders. I like he does some things well in coverage, totally, but an absolute sieve in the run game. I don't think you're going to want to go all in on him. So yeah, Jonas Griffith would be my sleeper on defense. Okay. I hope I'm a Glinchy, but think you're right with Kroll on O. For D, it's Moss. PJ is already a stud for me. Yeah, I would fully agree with Moss. Moss, I think, is a great breakout candidate. The one thing for me there, I personally wouldn't consider him a sleeper, but I fully agree. I think he is set up beautifully to break out. The reports we're getting from Camp 2 are also very promising. I think that's a big deal. Okay, let's get into the rest of this here. One thing I wanted to discuss with Baron Browning, Nick Bonitto, and Marvin Mims, it's a little more contract stuff because they're all kind of coming up here. These positions are getting into a realm where it might start to be similar to quarterback. I don't think my theory on quarterback holds roster wide, but now where we're getting these, receivers and edge rushers making $35 million a year, like at the top of the market. If you can hit on a rookie receiver or, a guy on a rookie contract, like Mims would fall into this bucket, and he can be like a top-notch receiver. I mean, like top 20 in the league type. That's 20 million in surplus value right there with just the way things are trending. So I think it's very important. Like those three players are so huge. Not only do they play premium positions, not only are they young players the Broncos have invested a good deal in, but if they hit, it compounds their ability to pull themselves out of this hole. Because you hit on a great player in the draft, awesome. You're adding a great player. That helps. It also helps because you're able to restructure some of these guys. Again, it's tougher with position players because they're exposed to more contact than quarterbacks. It is messier. But quarterbacks aren't the only players getting restructured. It's happening all around. It just isn't, it hasn't been that meaningful until now because the contracts haven't been big enough until now. Now they're getting to the point where some real advantages, I think, can start to emerge. Again, you don't want, because right now I'd say, Bonitto and Browning, they're not trending towards the top of the market, right? If they had a good season, they're probably in that mid-level, especially Browning with his injury history. So that's a guy you're probably not going to want to get on this restructure game with. All right. That's a real downside, I think, long-term and something worth discussing. Again, that could be $15, $20 million annually in surplus value. $15 million. That gets you three really good depth pieces. That gets you like three passable starters on free. That's strong. Two passable starters. You 4 or 5 depth pieces. Like that, real value. And we're talking about again, Russell Wilson's eating up 55 million on this team next year, 35 next year, and he's not playing for him. So that's negative value, the opposite of surplus value. Sorry, I don't know the antonym off my top of my head, but that's the opposite of surplus value. So how do we dig ourselves out of that 55 million, that $35 million hole? By finding 15 million in surplus at receiver, by finding 30 million in surplus at quarterback. That's how it's done. I think Jonah Ellis is a Browning insurance type thing. I fully agree. Him or Cooper, I think Browning's far more likely, but Browning probably leaves after the season. They get a comp pick for him, and Ellis plugs in. I would agree with you for sure there, Kathy. All right, 40 minutes. I mean, it's a short one. I don't think I have that much more to hit on. I will say, I should have done this off the top, but please like the stream and comment. Likes and comments really, really help the video perform, and really help us grow. And, again, just really appreciate you guys following us on this journey as we try to grow this thing. So thank you. Any support y'all can offer is always very, very appreciated by all of us. Again, I'm going to be doing these things every Friday. This was a topic I had in mind for a minute. I don't know what I'm going to talk about next Friday, to be honest with you. I'll figure something out. I promise you. I'm not short on hot takes, but if there's something you're curious about that you want me to do a deep dive into, leave a comment. Oh yeah, Kathy, thank you for reminding me about this. I meant to hit on this. But I'll say real quick, please hit me up with a comment if there's something you want me to talk about on this show. I'll also say extra motivation for you guys to like and comment and all that. I don't think I'll do the giveaway because we didn't hit the 2-3 week goal. Actually, screw it, whatever. Giveaway, I'm still doing it. Hot thing, I'm also still doing that. Whenever we hit 2K, we are 20 subscribers away. If you can tell a friend, tell a family member that's a Broncos fan, share this show on social media, like, comment, really all these things help us in the social media algorithm, and really means a lot to all of us. I don't want to keep going on that spiel, but just thank you guys so much. Very, very grateful for it. And if you listened through the mushiness, I'll close out with a bit of it. Actually, really quick, I will close out with a take. But before I do, website, I just dropped, it's damn near 2,000 words, talking about 4 breakout players I see on defense. Riley Moss, one of them, I go in depth there. Jonas Griffith, one of them, I go in depth there. And then there's 2 others who I won't name by name. So go check that. And those guys are 3 and 4. I've got 2 ranked ahead of them on my list. I'm going to make that article live right after this show. That's not good marketing on my part. But I will do that. So if you go over there, it'll be there. Okay, closing out with a hot take. What do I think about the comments about Jaleel being running back 1? I think it's possible, but I think it's very unlikely. We saw his snap share kind of peak at a point last year around 50-60%. Around the Bears week. I think it was like weeks 4 through 7. His usage peaked, and then it went back down to like 20 to 30. Despite him playing well, and I think that was the staff going, "Oh, his body can't do that. Like he's a bit player. I don't think he's the lead dog." So that's part of it. The second part, so I heard these reports about Javonte's running with the 3rd team. He might be a cut candidate. Jaleel might be the starter. And I think there's some truth. I think Javonte could be cut. I think Jaleel maybe could be the day 1 starter, listed on the depth chart, and then it's just a heavy rotation. I think those things could be true. I also think everyone saying that is making mountains out of molehills. I've been going to Broncos camp or practices since the 2018 season. Every single one, they rotate the running backs, except for once you get in season. But at this stage, they rotate the running backs. They rotate the receivers too. We could use the same logic or the same fear to say, God, I don't even know. One of the rando receivers, I know Hank was hyping up Michael Bandy, but he's the one that comes to mind. But like, dang, is Michael Bandy wide receiver 1? He was taking snaps with Bo Nix while Sutton was taking snaps with Zach Wilson. Like, yeah, just happens sometimes. Just a rotation. So I really wouldn't put too much stock in that. Now, Javonte is in a contract year. I think it's pretty unlikely the Broncos re-sign him. So really, it's all about what is Javonte giving me this year. If you've already, think 90% chance we're letting this guy walk after this year. Again, so all that matters is what is he doing this year? If he doesn't look great in camp and you think Pirine can do more for you this year, and you think McLaughlin or Blake Watson or Estimate can do more for you this year, it would make sense to let him go. Estimate, I think, could fill in for Javonte Williams. Now, ideally, I think you want those guys together. I think that's the Broncos' vision. But Javonte definitely isn't cemented into a roster spot. I think you can afford to cut him now. which is sad. I'm rooting very hard for Javonte Williams. I was thinking with my puppy. Oh, that's cute. My girlfriend's watching the stream over. Or actually, she's not. She's watching something else. I thought she was watching my stream for a second. I was like, that's so cute. No, she's watching Netflix. But I was talking with my puppy earlier, and it made me think about Javonte Williams because I love her so much. I love Javonte Williams, and I'm like, oh, I just want you guys both to be right as rain and healthy. But yeah, I think that's where I'll end it. We'll be back Monday. Article up on the website in like a couple seconds after I hit end stream. So check that out. All your support, likes, comments, all that stuff means the absolute world to me. Again, thank you so much. Thank you for the support. Keep bringing it, and I'm going to have to eat some hot pepper or hot chip or hot one's hot wing or whatever. And that'll probably be enjoyable for you guys and not so much for me. So, punish me for this college lecture I just made y'all sit through. 45 minutes. That's how long my college lectures were. I just gave you a dissertation on the future of quarterback cap space. Y'all are brave souls for sitting through that. Thanks for humoring me. Signing off for real now. Adios. Go Broncos. See you.